And into the north we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Into the North. As always, I'm Don the Jeweler, and rolling with me, my cohort in crime. He's the reason they got all them bulbs on the scoreboard. It's Corey Chan.
Boy.
Chantastic. How you doing, homeboy?
What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Amazing. Let's not waste any time. We got our second guest from friendly Manitoba, and fortunately, this is going to be a two-parter. So here's the first part with our interview with he's a collector, he's a thrifter, a garage sailor, and he is a wealth of knowledge, and he's a great interview. So let's check him out. Part 1 of 2. Let's go.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so pumped for this one tonight. We told Corey you had to bring some heat after bringing in Forsey for the first person from Manitoba. And I think Corey brought some heat. What do you think, Chan?
Oh, I definitely got some heat tonight, man. This man has got quite the collection of interesting stuff. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's got a collection of interesting stories too. So, Not only is he a video game collector, he's a thrifter, he's a garage sailor. What's your name and where you from?
Hey, I'm Matt Pincharski from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
AKA Team Gsale. You can check him out. We're going to share all his YouTube credentials later. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, great, man. Thanks for having me. I really look forward to doing this.
Yeah, welcome to the North. It's cool as hell up here.
It's cool as hell, yeah.
Yeah.
Always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So small talk first. How do you know our boy Chantastic?
Corey, like we always tell this story whenever we get together. We met was it grade 11 or 12?
My grade 11 year. Your second
yeah,
year,
my grade 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your second year, grade 12.
Yeah, Corey tells the story all the time. Where it's like we had a biology class, and he was on his way to class one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, why don't we just hop in my car, go for a ride?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, when we got class," I'm like, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
The teacher likes me. So we went to the park, went for a cruise, and yeah, we were friends after that. So
there you go, fast friends
man.
indeed.
Pretty much one of the first homies I made friends with here in this city.
That's cool, man. That's cool. You know, when we sent Chan out west, we didn't know who he was going to end up kicking with, and two of the people that he met the first getting there to Winnipeg are now two people we're talking to 20 years down the road. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
It's a friendship a long time in the making, but it's
for sure.
That's great. What were you driving back then?
For sure.
Corey remembers. I had I can't remember the year. That was like a '91 Plymouth Laser.
What?
green, and then you got it painted silver with a red metal flake.
Yeah.
No way.
One of the deadliest stereo systems I've ever heard in my life in a car.
Deadly, bud.
Yeah, the whole trunk was one big subwoofer.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's unreal, man.
Bolts are coming loose as you're going.
Oh, it was crazy, man. Fast and Furious, let me tell you.
Well,
furious, maybe not fast, but furious.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, not fast.
You don't know why you keep getting pulled over for not having a license plate on the back? I don't know how I keep losing these goddamn things.
No doubt. The good old days.
Yeah, that was fun times, man.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I heard you like video games, buddy.
Yeah. People sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, so yeah, you collect them?" Like, yeah, I got a couple. And,
Yeah.
So it might have something to do. Like, I couldn't really tell, but I kind of noticed you have a few behind you there, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Couple.
Yeah, 10 or 12.
Are those Wii or PS3?
These are all Wii. Yeah,
That's
amazing. Wall of
amazing.
Wii behind me, yeah. So.
Well, I guess
got a wall of many.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question we got for you is, how did it start?
There's the cliche answer where it's like, I grew up with a Nintendo. But I mean, like, if you were born in the 80s, everyone grew up with a Nintendo. Like, I don't know anyone who didn't have a Nintendo, right? Like, yeah, you had your friends who had Sega.
You didn't grow up on our block, buddy. You weren't around 45th Avenue. It was tough.
Yeah, no doubt. It was tough.
Yeah.
There was one kid who had a Nintendo. I don't know your block, man. But
No,
It's true, though.
we all had Nintendos.
We all had Nintendo.
Of course we did.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's just like, that's the cliche answer, right? It's the nostalgia, right? Like, you had it, it was fun, you had memories of those games, and you sort of built up a collection from there. But for me, I think, like, my first system, people will sometimes ask, like, it wasn't the Nintendo. I had an Atari, and we had it at we shared a cabin with like 5 or 6 family members, so we got it for like a week every summer. And I remember, like, raining one day, you can't play outside. I was like 8 years old, and there's a box with an Atari in it. I don't know what it was. I had no idea. I played around with the TV, got it hooked up, played Donkey Kong, played Space Invaders. Thought, yeah, this is cool. But I mean, like Atari games, they're you're in and out in 5 minutes. They're not. There is replay value, but they're not like they weren't as memorable as Nintendo.
Well, something like Donkey Kong, I get it's super linear, like the original Mario Bros, where you would go through the two sides of the pipes and there was just a POW thing. Like, okay, it's the beginning of arguably the greatest franchise in the history of the business. However, I don't want to play that ever again. Like, I'm cool. Exactly. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mario 1 is a different ball game completely, but that,
Yeah, for sure. Atari stuff was like, it was arcade ports, right? Like, I mean, so was the Nintendo, right? But like a lot of those like Atari games were like, late 70s, early 80s arcades that they ported to the Atari, right? Yeah. So, and they were meant to be played with friends. They were meant to be quick. You were going for the high score, essentially, is what you were doing with those games. The idea of like beating the game or it was like really not heard of with Atari. You were trying to just get the high score, essentially. There was no game to beat. Yes. So yeah,
trying to do better than your opponent.
Yeah. Well, exactly. In the way that like Mario or Donkey Kong was kind of restricted, Pac-Man was restricted in the same way, but it didn't lose any replay value. Playing Pac-Man today, even if you're playing on a very old system, is still as much fun.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you've probably seen they have like Pac-Man clones, and they have like plug-and-play systems, and they have like Atari Classics, and it's crazy. But I mean, I guess for me, it would have started like officially collecting video games would have been around 16, 17 years old. At the time, we had a flea market. Corey may have missed out on it. I'm not sure what year he came here exactly, but we had a big flea market in the neighborhood.
And your first time in grade 12, I think it closed, and Corey wasn't there yet.
It would have been a little bit. Yeah, and it was one of those things where we'd like, you I think even younger, maybe 12, 13, we'd bike over there. They used to have like $1 NES games or $1 Super Nintendo games, and you'd buy one because at the time the N64 was now coming out, and that's sort of like a collecting thing. Like whatever the most recent system is the cheapest. So. When the N64 came out, no one wants Super Nintendo. Everyone's getting rid of them. Everyone's trading them in. Everyone's selling them at garage sales. Everyone's donating them, whatever. So I started building up a small collection. I would go every Sunday, buy a game, buy 2 games, whatever. And then, over time, you sort of like, you start amassing boxes of games. I never actually thought of myself as a collector. I just thought it's a cheap hobby. Maybe these games will be worth something someday.
Well, one day you get there and you take a checklist of every Nintendo game and you look at your own inventory and you realize there's a lot more checks than there's not.
Yeah.
You're like,
that was a little bit later in life, but I mean, I guess long story short, when you graduate, whatever, you go to university, you had a family, like you put all that on hold, right? Like you're not thinking about collecting video games when you're in school, really. You're playing stuff. I played PS2 and PS3 and stuff like that, but I wasn't collecting, especially retro stuff. And I think it was like, I want to say 2006, 2005, 2006. I was working at a group home, and like in the evenings, like you'd work to overnight, and there's nothing to do but watch YouTube, right? Like you can't do anything. The kids are sleeping. You're not gonna, you already did your cleaning and everything. So I used to watch and you're technically not allowed to sleep.
A group home, like a halfway, or a group home like lockdown, like these are incarcerated kids.
No, essentially, like these are all kids who will, beat the crap out of you if you're not careful. Like they're all.
So you got to stay on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, so I watched a lot of YouTube, and like I don't even know how it came about, but I ran through a channel. I don't know if you guys know of him. He's a pretty big YouTuber. I think he's got like 5-6 million subs, but he's the Angry Video Game Nerd. And I came across his channel, and I thought, and at the time he was just starting out. Like I think he had maybe only been doing it for a couple of years, so his videos were pretty, primitive at the time. But I remember thinking like, wow, like I think I have some of that stuff. And I, went down to the basement, opened up a few boxes, and I'm like, wow, I actually kept through all the different moves, I kept these video games. And I wanted, at the time, my son was 3, and I thought, it'd be cool if I kind of showed him Mario, just it'd be fun for him to like kind of play it the way, I was a bit older, but I just thought he'd find it interesting. So I like hooked up the Nintendo, and I kept a bunch of games, and I don't know why, but I didn't have Mario. It was like the one game I didn't keep.
Wow.
I know. I kept like all
out
these
of
other
all of
games.
them, man. You know what I mean? Like
Wait, hold
like,
on.
franchise
You
based-
didn't have Mario 1.
I didn't have Mario.
Yeah, they were like, what?
No Mario 1 Duck Hunt track and field
Yeah,
combo.
come
Like,
on, man.
No, I didn't have Mario 1. I actually, it's funny, I didn't have Mario 1 or 2. I had 3. And so I thought, okay, well, I got to go get it because I got to play it with him. And at the time, I'm like, that flea market had closed down 10 years ago, so I knew I wasn't going there. So I'm like, I think I Googled like old video games Winnipeg, and like there was another flea market that I had never heard of before, and I'm like, okay, I'll go there. It was basically the same one. They had just moved and changed the name, so like all the old vendors were like had just moved over. So like people
nice.
who I was buying games off of when I was 12 are now there when I'm like 25, 26, 27.
Sorry, Matt, not to cut across you, but do you think that this flea market is responsible for the bulk of your collection?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Okay.
No. I just wanted to know because that would be interesting.
I think it would be responsible for like me getting into collecting, but I don't.
Like getting you hooked, right?
Yeah,
like
getting you jump started.
Right?
All right.
Yeah. I think in the initial days, maybe it was a great start. Like, but yeah, so like.
Did you get the copy of Mario?
Yeah, they had a copy of Mario. Yeah,
That's
like
nice.
The guy had like 30 of them, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll pick it up, took it home. My son and I played it, and then you realize how hard that Mario 1 was. Like, you don't really think about it when you're younger, right? And then
your 2022 brain processing 1983 game physics is insanity. When you go back to it, you're like,
man.
Yeah,
hurts the head.
And we can talk about games that aged horribly, but like Mario 1, I don't want to say it aged horribly because it's still a classic, but it's choppy. It's actually really hard to play.
Bad.
So
bad.
Frustrating. So my son and I played it, and he I don't know, he was too young, but you know, it was a noble try. But like the next week, I thought, okay, I'm gonna go back and buy another game. I'll buy Mario 2 next week. So it was like $3 for Mario 2, and then basically.
Wait, hold on. For those at home who haven't been paying attention, he doesn't have Mario 1 or 2 in his collection at this point.
I had Mario 3, which people argue is the best one, but
I'm gonna bring that up later.
We can debate that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I went every week and bought games, and then it just sort of hit me one day. I'm like, I wonder if I could buy all of them. Like, I wonder how many. I didn't even know how many there were. I had no idea. I thought in my head, I'm thinking like maybe there's 100 games, right? And I had no idea. So I went online, tried to find a list. Wikipedia had a list. I didn't know how accurate it was. I printed it off, and I was literally going in. Okay, need that one. Check it off the list, and I mean, sometimes it's like you get into these things and you don't realize how deep the rabbit hole goes with these collections and what's even considered part of the collection and what some people are looking for in the collection and how do you define a collect. Like, it's really tough, and that's kind of how I got started. Like to make
all right, yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead, Corey.
Well, like Matt, like all these years I've known you, like even when we first started hanging out, I don't recall you ever showing me any like boxes with games in them, man.
No, and I wasn't playing them then.
No, we were too busy like making beats and rapping over your mom's computer. I'm pretty sure at that time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I never knew that you were even into games, man, until later on in life when it was like, hey, check out my collection. I'm like, what the? Where did this come from?
Check out this small museum in my home. Like,
unreal, yeah. Like,
yeah, I think you and I
busy?
We connected during that like lull period where I was like, I had just stopped and then picked it up quite a bit later. Like, I remember, I don't know if you were coming with us or not. Again, I think you came later on, but like we used to like skip school like in grade 10 and go play GoldenEye at our house. Like, like we were playing. No,
year
I think
2000 I showed up. I showed up 2000.
Yeah, I must have been a little bit later. Yeah. But like, like I was still playing a lot of games, but I wasn't collecting. Like, I was just like, it was just kind of like, I don't know, like you put things on hold. And it's also too one of those things with collecting where it's like, there's another thing where like whatever generation grew up with that game, when they hit about mid-20s, they start collecting it, right? So it's like, for me, it made sense the early 2000s was when all the guys who grew up with the regular Nintendo are now 25. They all have jobs, they got money, they can afford to go and buy, and then they want to relive their youth, right? Like right now, like if you look at like what system is insane, it's GameCube, right? It's all the guys who grew up with GameCube, right? Like,
just can't believe that though.
Because they're in their 20s now, and now they got jobs and money, and they're going for games.
When people talk about the greatest whatevers about anything video game wise, I think Mario Kart Double Dash deserves so much more credit than it gets.
It gets credit. It's up there. It's definitely up there.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like it brings everyone into it. You know what I mean? Like you've never been able to play Mario Kart as a team before.
No.
Yeah.
And the mechanics.
Mario Party was like the only thing, right? Wasn't it really? Or was that still one of like
Mario Party was a different thing. I don't know if there was any kart mini
like,
games in that.
It was like a board game, really, right?
Yeah, but there was obviously Mario Party was fun because the mini games that you play are fucking nuts. But I don't think they had a kart aspect to it. But the actual Mario Kart Double Dash, it's the first time you could play as a team, and the way that they made the mechanics for a GameCube game, it was crisp. The way you would pop the little turbos and the way you would switch the things, and I thought it was incredibly well done. The only problem was the Wavebird technology was spotty in spots. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like you got the Wavebirds and you're excited and you're playing that specifically. Some games you could have lag. Other games like that, you missed hitting the button or doing whatever, and the whole thing gets jacked up. But still, I think it was incredible for the time.
Yeah, I
even maybe.
Yeah, the GameCube is the one Nintendo console I have very little familiarity with. It's the one I never owned until I was an adult.
The buttons are weird. It was such a chore to learn the controller.
Yeah. Like I've played a lot of the games now, but like I had an N64, and then I went to PS1, and then when I did get a Nintendo again, it was Wii, and so I completely missed the GameCube. And it's like the GameCube is funny because, like you mentioned, like Double Dash is arguably one of the best Mario Kart games out there. Like the Wii one is actually really good too, surprisingly. But like the Super Nintendo one was cool for what it was, but it wasn't pretty.
The Wii one was fun because you could actually feather your turns and stuff. You could like bounce and drift your controller and stuff, which was I thought was really cool.
Oh, one thing people forget about the GameCube though is that, like, I don't know if you're really familiar with it. I'm not, but like
I had it. I know quite a bit about it. I gave you one actually and a bunch of games.
You remember when I came to see you back in the day? You went to work. I was sitting there hungover. We partied for a solid week, and I remember you had Tony Hawk on the GameCube, and I had to teach myself how to play it because your dad was at work. You're at work. I'm dying hungover, waiting for you to get home. Like, I guess I'm gonna learn how to play Tony Hawk.
Yeah, no doubt, Matt. I'm pretty sure one of the games I gave you was F-Zero for GameCube, and you didn't have it. And you didn't have it.
I still have it on my shelf.
Is it a rebrand, or is it like is it a spiritual successor, or is it just F-Zero up-resed and moved to GameCube?
Yeah, there's like different characters, but there's still the same old characters. You know what I mean? And like totally like.
But it's a freshened up game. It's not just pretty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Corey, you know the GameCube. Tell me, what is the definitive Mario title for the GameCube?
Ooh.
And you know what the answer is? There isn't it.
There isn't. So, I'm trying to think. And,
like everyone,
I think Zelda was their.
The only one I could think of is. That's interesting. But I think if I'm not mistaken, Sunshine was the one, right? Or the one that most people would say.
It was, but that's not a Mario title in like. So you got N64 had Mario 64, which I think anyone who played it would say is a masterpiece. It's one of the best games.
Awesome.
Super Nintendo obviously had Super Mario World, which was amazing. And then you go to the Wii, it had New Super Mario Brothers, which was really fun. But like the GameCube never had that. It had Smash Brothers. It had a great port of Smash Brothers. It had a great port of Mario Kart. It had Luigi's Mansion, which was cool, but it wasn't a Mario game, really, like in the strict sense of like a 2D side scroller. So it's like it never had one. It just didn't have a definitive Mario title, and it had 3 really good Mario parties too. So, or was it 2? 2. It had 2 good Mario parties.
Yeah. I feel like its lifespan wasn't as long as a lot of systems. Not not them dying. I mean, like when GameCube was, they're focused on GameCube. Yeah. Because right after that, the Wii came and it changed video games forever again. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Wii is I'm probably going to be wrong here because I think it might have just changed, but the Wii was the best-selling Nintendo console ever. I honestly think the Switch overtook it, though. I'd have to check. I'm not 100%.
Really?
Wow, crazy.
But I mean, in terms of like the Switch is kind of like it's half handheld, half console.
Yeah, so, I kind of find it weird to play still. I'm still not used to that whole. Give one person half of it, you take the other half, and I don't know. It's weird.
I think it's rad as fuck. My son has a Switch, and I've yet to come across a title I don't love. So Mario Maker, Mario Maker makes my heart sore. Like it is the best of everything, and I've everyone seen Super Mario Kaizo on YouTube, the Mario Impossible.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You're able to download a ROM of that, So I tried playing it, and even with save states, it was insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mario Maker is the closest thing you could get to that because some people make insane levels.
That's
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, no,
That's cool.
yeah.
And it touches on every form of Mario you could use, well, except for the singular first person stuff, right?
Yeah,
It's all the side scrolling stuff.
Well, the Switch is super underrated. I think. Like I think it's fun, but it's like I'm at that like age now where it's like I gravitate to older games, and like my kids are into the Switch, and it's like just recently, my youngest son's 7, and he's kind of like he likes the Lego games, he likes Mario stuff, like he likes the basic easy to play. And he was like, he asked me.
That's a half-hour conversation talking about the Lego games and their legacy because the Lego games are something else, man.
Wow.
Sorry, not to cut across you. Go ahead, finish. Keep your thought going.
That's all good, man.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about video games. You could like literally go anywhere with it. But like, he wanted Mario Odyssey, and I was like, all right, cool. You know, look around, try to cheap, right? Try to find a used copy, try to find like someone online selling it, and couldn't find nothing. Finally went to the video game store, did some trades, got a copy. Brought it home. He played it for 10 minutes. He's like, too hard. Throws it away. Like, not throws it away, but, tosses it on the couch. And I'm like, oh, I just, all that, like, trade and credit, got the game, and he doesn't even want to play it.
Do you think any of our parents back in the day, oh, I want this video game, you think they would have traded anything? No, man. They would have found a way to get it. And if we would have said, I'm done with this 10 minutes later, boy, you better beat that game front to back. You better learn what Hidekego Hichagashi was trying to tell you subliminally through this Atari game because Daddy did overtime to go get it.
No doubt, though. Yeah. No doubt.
But see, like what we grew up with that the kids nowadays will never know. Kids nowadays, we sound old, eh? But like what we grew up with, like we had like
we are old, man.
We had rental stores, man. Like you could you rented a game, you could try it out, and you're like before you went in, because like NES games. They weren't like brand new. They were like $50. Like they weren't cheap, right? And you would look at with inflation, like they were. I mean, yeah, they were cheaper than they are today, but they were not like for a working family. Like the 80s, 90s was tough, man. Like your parents will tell you how tough that was. And it's like they weren't like they couldn't afford that, so you would at least got to try the game out because like I don't know how many like. I've played every NES game, and there is trash in that library. Like there are games that are basically unplayable. And can you imagine like your parents working hard, spending $50 on like a Christmas gift for you, and you bring it home and within 5 minutes it's like the worst game you've ever played, and you can't do anything with it now. You're stuck with it.
Not even worst game though. Like sometimes they're just stupid hard. Like Battletoads.
Well, yeah,
that game was impossible. I remember playing it for a week straight and just saying, "I'm done. I don't want to touch it again. I'm over." Yeah.
Remember Draken?
I can't forgive myself.
Remember Draken? What a pain in the ass, man. Crystallis. If you didn't get lucky and figure out how to jump at the beginning of the game, you didn't get to keep playing. You just stayed in the beginning. You turned it off.
To get back on your rental stores there, Matt. Me and Grant, when we were younger, man, every Friday we would go. We were actually in a bowling league in our early teens, right? So me and Grant would not eat, take our money, go to the rental store down the street after bowling and get the newest game that's out, right? So we can go home and play the shit out of it.
So Corey and I would get $5. We get $5, and the hot dog food combo at the bowling alley was $3.25.
$3.25.
But $1.75 wasn't enough to get a game, and $3.50 wasn't enough to get 2. So we would skip food, and then we'd be armed with 10 bone, so we could get 3 games and a bag of chips to split. And our parents would ream us every time. You got to give you money to eat, you shits. Meanwhile, we're playing Super Punch Out, fucking slugging back a 2-liter Coca-Cola or whatever.
Eat out a bag of chips, man. Oh,
ripping. God. Hey, we didn't regret a minute of it.
The days.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's like I mean, that's the thing, right? Too with like a video stores, it's like. Your parents gave you allowance, whatever it was, $2, $3, $4, $5, who knows? So you went to the video store, you rented a game. The Angry Video Game Nerd talks about this a lot, where he's like, imagine like, it's Friday night, you're a kid, you just got your allowance, you skateboard or bike over to the video store, you rent the game, you go home, within 2 minutes you realize how terrible the game is, your weekend's done now, because now that one game, you're not getting another game, you don't want to. You don't want to play that game anymore, so your weekend's over now. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna just whatever. And like the other thing about growing up like at that time was it's like do you remember owning more than like 5 or 6 video games? Like, I don't think anyone really did. Like, no one I knew did. Like, I mean, maybe you had 10 if you were lucky.
That's true.
Kind
That's
of,
true.
but I feel like I acquired some through my parents finding a $7 one somewhere, or one for $2. Like, there was a game, I forget what it's called, but you're like a little rodent and you got like a rocket pack and you could like blast around. I forget what it's called, and you collect gems and shit. And you would hang by your tail and slide. Anyways, I forget what it's called. I'll find the name and I'll post it later on the Instagram, whatever. But I think my mother found it somewhere for like $2.50 when Super Nintendo games still mattered, right? So she's like, "Fuck, all right, I'll take it."
Again, it would have been later on too. Like, I'm just thinking, like, no one had it. Like, if you did get a game, it was probably your birthday or Christmas. And and then I don't know what you guys did out there, but like, I'm sure it was the same as here. Like, we would just swap with friends, right? You trade with friends, you borrow around. Everyone, okay, I'm sick of Castlevania, I'll borrow, trade it to you for Zelda or whatever. Like, and like, it's the thing, like, growing up, like, I never owned Zelda because like I always had a friend who had it, and I was just borrowed from my friend. Like, and like I one of the games I religiously played was Castlevania, and like a lot of my friends never had Castlevania, so we just traded them around. So you get sort of like, that's I mean. But video stores, like, I mean, you could do a whole podcast on video stores, but it's like the kids nowadays don't know that experience, right? Like, they don't rent games now like they used to. And even if you want to go digital and like buy the game, like, it's not much cheaper. It's like, what? I think it might be the same price. Like, it's close.
You know what? It was like an excitement. Like, you're going down to the video store to rent a brand new game that's out. You know what I mean? Like, you're like putting your name on hold for when it's back, you know what I mean? When it comes back, so they call you so you can have it next. Like, it was like, it was an experience. It was like a eye-opening experience, man. It's like shit. It was like part of growing up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
It was a world-class part of growing up. It was an ultimate part of growing up. Yeah, but that's the thing. If we could get like back, I don't remember what the deal was, but you could get 3 for a price, right? So we would always get something new and super hype.
Yep.
Usually some sports thing that we could just go toe to toe with, and then normally we'd get Punch Out, because we know because after bowling our parents would hang out, so we have all night to play video games. So we know at some point be like, yo, let's try to run as far as we can in Punch Out, and just boom, 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 boom.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Are you talking about NES Punch Out or Super NES?
Super NES. No, Super NES.
Sorry, yeah, Super NES.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out, as classic as it is, and as much as I love it, is flawed. Super Punch Out is crisp, it's smooth, the graphics are just better, the character design's better. I maybe it's sacrilege that I'm saying this, but I just enjoy it so much more.
No, there's no sacrilege. Like, I mean, I just had this conversation today with a friend of mine. It's like the Super Nintendo is better. Like, I mean, I just I don't know how you can debate this. Like, I mean, I grew up on the NES, but like when I look back at like my favorite games that I want to still play today, they're Super Nintendo games. They're not as much Nintendo games.
To be honest,
there's very few.
One of the best systems ever put together, though.
The SNES.
Yes.
There's a lot of back and forth about it.
Put together. Like, I mean, there's just so much that it offered compared to a lot of systems. I mean, nowadays a lot of systems offer that same effect, but for that at that time, shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, the polygons got rounded, right? You had more. They went from looking super blocky and odd to looking like actual drawings or cartoons or living little entities. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, but I guess, but there. I mean, for even like other systems they were going up against, it was better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean,
there are some people who make arguments for the Genesis, but
I get it.
No, thank you.
Sure, but
yeah, the Genesis had I like the sports games better on the Genesis. Some of the fighting games are good. I mean, I don't see, like, when you started playing Super Nintendo, you realized like they were getting darn close to arcade quality. Like, they weren't there yet, but they were very close.
Yes.
And like, whereas like the Nintendo, like, you could buy a game. I'm just thinking of a good example, like a good arcade. You look at like an arcade port.
Well, don't forget the way that arcade technology and the trajectory of arcade games across the world. The home systems weren't where the focus were. These arcade systems where the technology was jumping and skyrocketing in quality, right?
Yeah.
So for the house systems to keep on par or get close to that, while this has its own trajectory and own momentum, it's to get close to it is really, really good. And that's why the Super Nintendo, it hit close for still being so, I'm not going to say unsophisticated, but it was still very early in the home game, right?
Yeah. And I think the two games for me that like showed me this is like, and for the Super Nintendo, I'm sorry, for the arcade, like my favorite arcade game to play, like when I was a little bit older, was Killer Instinct. I thought it was such a well done arcade.
So good.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't following like the Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat franchise. These were like, it was totally different. And I remember buying the home copy for the Super Nintendo of Killer Instinct and being like, man, it's not bad. Like it's not there, but it's so close.
Yes.
And Street Fighter is another one where like when you play it on the Super Nintendo, you're like, yeah, like it's not again, it's not as good as arcade, but it's a leap from the NES. But for me, like I don't know what your favorite like genre of games is, but like I'm kind of a sucker for RPGs. I like RPGs, and the Super Nintendo had a boatload of like some of the best RPGs ever made. Like, and some of them are still classic.
Arguably the best. Like people go insane for Chrono Trigger. People go insane for Final Fantasy VI. People go nuts for. I'm sure there's other ones that I'm missing that a real RPG fan would rip me for, but
Mario RPG.
Mario RPG was a lot of fun.
You name two of the biggest ones right off the hop. Like Chrono Trigger is a cult classic. Like people today are going nuts for Chrono Trigger. Earthbound is a cult classic. That's another one that was on
Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana.
Evermore. Evermore.
Yeah, Secret of Evermore, Breath of Fire,
Breath of Fire 2,
Final Fantasy 5 and 6 or 2 and 3, the American ones. Like
a lot of people will make a very strong case for Final Fantasy VI being the best one, period, of the Final Fantasy series.
Full stop. That is the best RPG ever made.
I played a gacha phone game. I think it was called Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. So there was a lot of basically as a gacha game, like they want you to buy gems to pull, and then if you get the super legendary guys, your team's better, and blah 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 blah. So Kefka was the best mage one of the best mages going at the time, and I didn't know. So a buddy of mine, he lives Final Fantasy, explained it to me, and he broke down Final Fantasy VI from the top to the bottom. I'm like, this sounds like one of the greatest adventures you could possibly go on, video game or otherwise.
Yeah, and I debate this a lot with other people who are into RPGs, and it's like I have a buddy who is like just hands down Chrono Trigger's the best. And I don't know if you played Chrono Trigger?
No, but I've heard ad nauseum about how excellent it is, and I'm sure everyone who says it is right.
And the reason it's good is because the art was done by the same people who did Dragon Ball. So you have like this really good art style, and Chrono Trigger was the big difference with Chrono Trigger.
Before you saw it everywhere, right? That art style kind of got away, like became just a massive thing that everyone started doing. So seeing it that early, even if you knew what the art style was still cool, really cool to see. And Super Nintendo was able to make it look nice.
Yeah, exactly. And Chrono Trigger was one of those games where, not to go too much into it, but it allowed you to like choose your own path. Like you could change the ending depending what you did. Like there's one scene where you can choose to kill off this character or keep him in your own party. And games really didn't give you that kind of options at that point. RPGs were pretty linear. Like Final Fantasy was pretty linear. But like the reason I liked Final Fantasy 6/3 is that for the first time they gave you backstories with the characters. Like you kind of got attached to certain characters because they had like a sort of a history and a story and, you know, a little bit behind them. But yeah, and Kefka is, I just on a side note, I had a Nintendo Power. Do you guys have Nintendo Power growing up? You remember Nintendo Power? Yeah. So they had a contest where if you could beat Kefka with all of your party turned into imps, you'd win this contest. So I spent like a month, like I don't remember how old I was, 12, maybe 11. I remember playing like Super Nintendo a ton in the summer to get all my characters to the highest level 99, and then turn them all into imps, and then fought Kefka, and you had to take a picture with like a Polaroid camera of like the screen ending with all your guys as imps. And I sent it into Nintendo Power, and like 8 months later they sent me back a prize. It was like a $50 voucher or something. And so
all that work, man.
Yo.
$50 voucher.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it took,
wow.
I almost forgot I even sent it in. It was so long after. But...
Wow.
Maybe that's a nice piece of content. Maybe you redo it.
Yeah. It would be fun. I've thought about doing some like actual like live stream playing, but I don't know. Again, it's time. So
you live streaming is obviously great, but if you just record yourself doing it, and like you said, editing stuff, but you do that and edit it, I think that's a nice piece of content.
Yeah.
Not to mention a dialogue with Nintendo wouldn't hurt either. Be like, hey, kind of representing for the team pretty freaking hard, you know? Maybe give your boy a check mark or a stamp of approval or something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, outside of your face, all I'm staring at are Nintendo products. Like,
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I
Like,
basically ad for them. So, yeah. I do have other video games. I don't just have Nintendo, but
he's got 'em all.
I'm not like
He's
a
got 'em
Nintendo fanboy. I like other stuff too, but
would Super Nintendo be your absolute favorite console?
yeah, yeah. I had to think for.
There you go.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Nice.
For home consoles, sure, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Not even-
yeah, for
not
sure.
even- yeah.
Nice.
Because I could just think of so many like Link to the Past. I mean, I know this is debatable, especially with the younger kids, because they'll say it's like Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. I think Link to the Past is the best Zelda game ever made. I think it's just a masterpiece. Super Mario World is a masterpiece. Like, there's just so many games on that system. I would say, like Castlevania 4. Like, there's just so many games that just nailed it. Like, just the controls were good, the graphics were good, the sound was good. Like,
the
they just nailed
gameplay
it.
was like perfect, man, for its time. Like, just there, it was like just great. So many games like that, man. It was just it was such a game changer. Literally a game changer.
You know,
for systems.
When you look at Nintendo, you see that they made the most out of the restrictions of the machine at the time. You know, gameplay for Nintendo was fantastic, but Super Nintendo really let them spread their wings.
Oh,
and you could have longer games and deeper games and then more interesting, you could just build better. You could just build it, you know, like your imagination wasn't stuck in this box. Your imagination now had still a restrictive box, but way bigger. The music ability jumped. Your ability to save better on the cartridge and save more stuff, and
that was a big thing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the save feature
sorry,
was
go
huge.
ahead.
'Cause, like the NES games, you had to have the only games that could save were like some of the RPGs, Zelda, because they had a battery backup. And like, I don't know how many times, even as a kid, you'd go to save and it wouldn't save. And then you just put in like 2 hours of gameplay and you can't save
nothing.
it was the most frustrating experience ever. So,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
Man,
Well,
so
Team
bad.
Gsale from Winnipeg, Manitoba, since you brought it up earlier, which is better, Super Mario 3 or Super Mario World?
Holy.
Because I am of two minds, and I want to hear how you feel about it first.
I'm going to say Super Mario World.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because Super Mario 3 is fun, but it's not easy. Like, it is still a very challenging game. Super Mario World is much more user-friendly. Like, the first world is very easy, and they sort of ratchet up the difficulty at a nice level where it's not you don't get overwhelmed too early in the game. I also like, as you get to the later levels, there's secrets you can find. I mean, I guess there were two in Super Mario 3, but
Yep.
I don't know. It just was smoother in terms of the gameplay. They're both great games. It's hard to compare them, but it is a good comparison because Super Mario 3 was kind of late in the life of the NES.
It's comparing apples to bowling balls. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah.
Thanks for giving up one of my this or that's for later, boy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
I remember getting very frustrated with Mario 3 at certain points in the game, and I don't remember that same frustration with Super Mario World.
It was there. Super Mario World was no less challenging than Super Mario 3. When you got to those star levels,
the star levels were tough. Yeah,
you had to have plumbed through everything that you've used so far in Super Mario World, and now use it in a more effective and a more demanding way.
Yeah, they came later in the game too, though. So like, there was also those other levels that had all those weird names, like Bodacious or Gnarly, like that. I can't remember where.
Those are those. So that's what I'm talking about. Those are so you get to the Star Road, and there's 5 levels on there, and then there's a go up to a next level, and then it's.
Yeah, those were hard, but that was again way later in the game, and you didn't need to do those either. Like, you could have just went through the regular map, and then got to Bowser or whatever. That was sort of like an extra thing you could do, but. I also like the fact that you get Yoshi. That's kind of fun too.
But let me ask you something, Gsale. Did you or did you not have to do those levels? Because I've never played it through and not said I'm beating every single goddamn thing on this map. Because that's how good Super Mario Brothers were. Like the first time through, sure. Once you beat Bowser once, twice, and then you realize you missed out on like 30 levels, you're like, wait, what? You're like, I'm going back.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of like Super Mario World is that like you can just follow the regular map, and get to Bowser and then beat him, and or you can go and do all the side things. It's like that's kind of why I like later on I got into GTA games, because it's like, yeah, you can do the regular missions, or there's all these other random things you can just go out and do for fun, right? And but yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I don't know, so I'm guessing you like Mario 3 better.
I do.
No, yeah, okay, hold on. So when I said comparing apples to bowling balls, Super Mario World is obviously just so much more massive in scope and massive in technical stuff and massive in look and massive in all the different things and the different roads. It's just a bigger, better game. But there's something about playing Super Mario 3 that still has equal amount of magic, equal amount of interesting stuff. There's a lot of different, like being able to open up the chest and use items to help you in certain levels, I think takes the gameplay of Super Mario 3 and puts it to the sky. Imagine Mario 3 without that.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. Now, I think a better debate to have, which I have all the time with people, is what's better, Mario 2 or 3? Because they are very different games.
Yeah, 3.
Totally different.
3, but that's not to say there's not a lot of charm in 2. Because 2 was a reskin, right?
Yeah.
They're like, we got to get this out ASAP. Just take this game you're working on, reskin it to Mario.
Yeah, you're kind of right. I didn't know this till much later, but Mario 2
is Mario 3 in Japan.
Lost your volume there, bro.
There you go. I forgot to mute my phone. There's a really good. I highly recommend him to anyone who's in video games. He's the gaming historian, and he does these really in-depth deep dives into games and how they came about, or consoles. And he does one on Mario. It's called The Story of Mario 2, and I just it blew my mind, because basically how it worked was Mario 2 came out in Japan. Basically, it looked very much like Mario 1.
Yes.
But it was insanely hard, almost too hard. And what happened is they pitched the idea to Nintendo North America, and I can't remember the name of the guy. There was this very famous guy at Nintendo who basically tried out all their new games before they went to the market in North America, because he gave his opinion. And he played it, and he said there is no way anyone will want this game in North America. It's too damn hard. So they sent it back to Nintendo of Japan, and they looked at the game and they said, okay, well, we need another game to release in North America. So they already had a game that somebody had been working on for Nintendo called Doki Doki Panic. Okay. And it was a game made for a festival. It was a family of 4 characters, all who had one who could jump a little higher, one who could float, one who could pick up things. And what they did is they just reskinned all those characters as the Mario characters and shipped it off. So it's basically a copy of another game that had nothing to do with Mario. Okay. So, and that's why there's a different boss and different enemies and all types of weird stuff. So,
but still creating a classic, an absolute classic.
Yeah, I love Mario 2. Huge memories of that one.
I had a lot of fun. My grandmother had it, so I played it a lot when I was over in Guanajuato visiting. And there's a lot of I like the classic bad guys, right? The Koopa Troopas, the Goombas, the Bob-ombs. I got a Bob-omb tattooed on me. Yeah. Mario 2 gave you a whole lot of new bad guys, and all of them were good. There weren't, dude. What was it? The face when you'd steal the key, and that face that would chase you and haunt you. That is a bit of psychology put into the game too. You're like, oh my god, this and it's you got to go down into the darkness. You get the key, and then I think in the later ones, in Mario All-Stars, there would be a big face in the back, and when you pick up the key, the eyes would glow red now, and then the thing would chase you, and that's I mean, it sucks that the Doki Doki Panic franchise didn't get to take off. But it is insane contribution to the Mario legacy.
Yeah, and that's where you get Birdo and Shy Guy and some of those other characters are all from that one as well. But yeah, no, it was a really cool story of how that game.
The ladybugs and the bosses were the fire, the big fire thing, the 3-headed snake.
Yeah, and there was,
Wart. Yeah, there you go.
Wart.
Final boss, yeah. And that's also where the idea that Luigi jumps higher, or Toad picks things up faster, Princess floats, that's where that kind of stuff came about, because before that they were all the same. I mean, before that there was just 2 of them. Yeah. But you mentioned Mario All-Stars. if you have Mario All Stars with the Super Nintendo, you can play the original Mario 2, the Japanese one on there, and it is insane. There's
Is that with the Lost Levels or Lost World or?
Yeah, and it's like I think right off the hop, there's like a mushroom. I can't remember what color it is, but when you get it, you die.
Purple.
So, and it's like anyone who played Mario would think mushroom, you get.
Yeah. Oh, hang on.
I'm gonna mute my phone. Hang on.
There you go. Sorry, bud.
We're good.
Yeah. Check 1, check 2. You're good.
I'm good. Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
People calling me late.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Is it? Hey, buddy, are you recording that podcast today? Yeah, I'm kind of right in the middle of her. Yeah, yeah. But I think Mario 3. I think we can't. I don't want to move off of this without saying Mario 3. When you would go through level 8, I think this is some of the most interesting video game you've seen ever.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what I got?
Where the hands would grab you up, and the tanks and everything. I don't know.
When I talk about psychological, man, that was pretty intense right there.
And like the different worlds had charm, and they were their own thing, and there was different suits, and obviously it doesn't compare to Mario World, but I think Super Mario 3, pound for pound, is definitely in the conversation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, I 100% agree. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, Mario World's insane. Like, come on, you can't be Mario World.
Yeah.
Which is funny why they always thought Sonic would be competition for Mario. It's like, no, it was just the face of Sega. They needed a Mario, and they did it with Sonic.
Yeah, wasn't it like the ultimate slap in the face to Sega that now you can play Sega games on the Nintendo?
Yeah.
Like Sonic games, you can play Sonic on the Nintendo. Like,
yeah, well.
You know, like growing up in the 90s, you'd be like, that would never happen. You would never get a Sonic game on the Nintendo, right? And it's like, Sega just realized they couldn't win the console wars, so they'll just stick to software.
Yeah, so, well, I'll tell you what, Sega Studios owns the rights to Sonic, and they're making nice money off of that. So
right now they are, yep.
But that's the reason Nintendo is still around, is their franchises, right? Like they're not around, like and because they do things a bit differently, but it's like anyone who's like a hardcore gamer knows like the PS5, like the PlayStation and Xbox have like that's where all the really really good games go. But Nintendo's got all the first party franchises: Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon. Like that's why they're still, you know, a competition, and that's why they're still relevant, right? It's all those first party franchises. Like I've never been a big Pokemon fan. I was too old for that. I was a little old when Pokemon got big, but like, man, like Pokemon is huge, and especially in video games.
My son is nuts for Pokemon currently.
Yeah,
we watch shows, YouTube videos of guys playing the games while he plays the game on the Switch, guys opening packs. Like I've seen so many guys sit there and just open packs of cards, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing this because you know, like my son goes off for it. And not to mention Pokemon has, if you wanted, like, say you want to practice your drawing, there's 790 Pokemon at this point, like throughout all the different iterations of the game or whatever, you know, stickers, t-shirts, anything you want to do Pokemon related. It's so deep, and it's such a robust catalog of stuff that you could Pokemon forever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like with video games, like there is an insane amount of Pokemon games. Like it's like, I think N64 is the first ones you get, besides that Game Boy ones. But
yeah, Game Boy,
and like they're still making them, they're still popular, and and if you're into collecting, they tend to hold a lot of value. So
gotta catch them all.
If your son has those Pokemon games, don't sell them. Hold on to them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like he's playing Arceus now, and I watch him play it, right? And sometimes I make him put it up on the TV because you can put it in the dock and then play off the controllers, right? The Switch is super versatile, and I'll be watching it. I'm like, you know what? I wasn't playing. I couldn't play an RPG this in depth at 8 years old. You know, like,
no.
And it's really good. And there's action dynamics, like, you know, you got to fight Pokemon before, like, there's certain boss battles where, like, I guess all the boss battles, you're trying to throw things and attack the boss, and when you get him weak enough, you're able to throw out some of your Pokemon to fight him.
Yeah.
And then you're controlling the Pokemon fight while whenever it ends or however it goes, and then you're gonna have to run around again and stun him again, and then you can throw out your Pokemon again. So it's super interactive, and it's super. It's not just RPG style, you know, scroll down, click the thing, scroll over, click the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a fair amount of it, obviously, but it's great.
But they spiced it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you know, something where you put out 2 at a time, right? Now it's Violet and Scarlet, Sword and Shield, whatever. If you're putting out 2 at a time, you got to make sure you keep it fresh. Otherwise, Pokemon knows they're taking money off of people consistently. They gotta try to continuously give you something worth putting your $70 into.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Because the nostalgia factor is great for, guys like us who played Red and Blue, but we're adults, wait kids, and I don't want to throw $80 at Arceus if it's gonna be trash. You know what I mean? If it's just gonna be another Pokemon game.
Yeah. Gotta do something different.
Well, yeah, and they're doing it. Pokemon is revered.
Oh yeah, I don't get it, but it's insanely popular, and that's great. It's a franchise has been a huge success, especially for Nintendo. So
absolutely. So you're obviously your channel's about garage sailing and thrifting and all of that. When's your busy season? How do you like to approach it? Like you garage sale and then thrift in between. Do you like to do the bulk of your content when your season is over, when you're filming for YouTube and whatnot? How do you approach it? And not only as a YouTube creator, but as somebody who likes to go and buy the stuff and, find the deal and be involved in, the energy of the, what this is. Collecting is a wonderful thing, especially something with such great emotion attached to it,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about any kind of collecting, whether you collect comic books or cars or art, your interests are going to change as your collection grows. So I started collecting with the idea that I would try to get all the Nintendo games, and then you realize at some point you rather get all of them, or you can't find the ones you need anymore, and then you realize, well, maybe it's not the fact that I'm going for the games, it's the fact that I just like to look for stuff. So then you look for whatever else is cheap, and then you buy other stuff. And anyone who collects will tell you, they start to build up big collections of things over time, and then you're rather trading them, selling them, or just putting them on a shelf and never using them. So
I collect vinyl, and the bulk of my collection is in boxes and put away because
exactly.
So the YouTube channel came from the existing collection, not you wanting to start making content and then you stepped up the collection. The collection was deep and robust before you even thought about putting stuff out there.
Yeah, when I first started, I was only looking for Nintendo games. When I went to a garage sale, I didn't really look. I kind of walked in, hey, do you have video games? No, okay, bye, and I'd leave. Now I look at everything because I'm looking at it now from part of what I do is I don't want to call it a side hustle, but it's this is money to invest in my collection. So if I find a Lego set that I know is worth $100 and they're only wanting $2, I'm going to buy it, sell it, and use that money to buy video games.
Well, yeah. And it's still within the realm of your content too. You know what I mean? It's not like you bought a crock pot for, $15 and it goes for 70 and you're selling that on your channel.
Yeah.
Because I saw you did a video where you found a bunch of Mario plushies and you're like, I know that I'm going to buy these for $5 and I'm going to move them for 20 because that's the going rate. You're not fleecing nobody. Yeah. They move. So you put a little bit of time into it and boom, that's $45 you could put back towards, the passion.
Yeah. And I mean, the video game collecting scene is insane now. Games that you used to, when I first started collecting, you could go to the flea market and buy a game for $1. You will not in your life find $1 game nowadays anywhere but a garage sale. I was at the flea market today, and the kind of minimum now is 10, the minimum, and I'm talking sports games, not Pokemon Heart Gold right now goes for $300.
Okay.
That's ridiculous. Chrono Trigger, which was always a kind of expensive game, it always floated around that $80 to $100 range. I just looked recently because somebody had mentioned it. It's a $300 game now.
Yep.
Jesus.
COVID drove the prices up of everything, but video games in particular took a massive jump in prices. So because of that, it's costing more to buy games now.
Really?
So I need to find, when I go out garage sailing, my thought is, okay, what can I, if I spend $50, I want to be able to make that back, so that at least I'm not paying out of pocket for everything that I'm buying. And but yeah, I think to answer your question about the busiest seasons, May is by far the busiest because May is weather's warm, people are having garage sales. All of the towns and communities are doing their garage sales in May.
This is it. Yeah, I know that recently, like towns just started doing that. Like Warren just had one like a couple weekends ago or something.
I went to that one.
And then like all the small and all the small towns do that throughout the season, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, and then like by July it's slow because it's vacation now. People are going to the camp or going to their cabins or whatever. Like there are still garage sales, but they slow down a lot. And then for whatever reason, I think people wait till September, that first long weekend there. It's busy too. Like there's a lot. But for me, that's like go back to work time, so I don't have as much time to commit to it then. So I'd say May and June are probably my two busiest months. And then throughout this season, like it's when I first started collecting, you know, I think there's, as you get older, you realize it's not like I used to go to the thrift store every day because it was on the way home from work. So I'd get off work, I'd slide by the thrift store, I'd look around, find stuff and whatever. But I think there was also, I think there's a dark side of collecting that people don't talk about. And I think this goes with any collecting, is that if it becomes to a point where it's causing you stress, it's probably not worth it to you anymore. Like I'll give you an example. Like I remember times where I couldn't go to the thrift store. Like my wife would call me and she'd be like, hey, you need to come home right now, I need you to help me. And I'd be like, no, I got to go to the thrift store, I might miss out on something. It's like, and she'd be like, and then we'd get in an argument over it. And I'd be like, it's like, I mean, like if it starts interfering with your life where you're worried about missing out on stuff, then it can be overwhelming. And I'm at this point now where it's like I don't care anymore. Like if I go to the thrift store, great. If I can't go, it's no big deal. I try to look at it as like, if I used to go to the thrift store and leave with a shopping cart full of stuff. Now I'm lucky if I find a comic book or anything. Like there's just like the prices of thrift stores are, I don't know how they are out where in Montreal there, but I know here it's like they check everything now. So anytime any like old video games come in, they're looking on eBay, they're pricing it high, and they're doing this that are old. So you can still find deals, but like in terms of like finding box, like, you know, a whole row of NES games for $2 a game, you're not going to get that anymore. It's just not going to happen. So I mean, I mean the channel for me was kind of I noticed another local YouTuber who I sort of stumbled across at a convention. He was doing it where he was just like going to the thrift store with a camera and recording what he was finding, and I thought I could do that. That's pretty easy, you know. So I just started, like, you know, bringing my cell phone with me. And garage sales are tricky because, you know, it's somebody's house. You know, it's different when you go into Value Village or a flea market where it's like, you know, this is a public space, so to speak, but it's a little bit different when you're walking into like somebody's private, you know. I know I've seen people who do it. I'm always a little more respectful about it. Like I'll try to like, I won't record like shots of their house or shots of their faces. I'll just try to, like, you know, if they have a sign, you know, that says Dollar Games, I'll just try to quickly get a shot of that, and then I'll record everything in the car after. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I know there are people who do that, and they record their conversations with people. I just think it's their property. I'd rather be respectful and just, you know, I also, you know, it's one thing when you get a deal from someone that's great, you don't want to rub it in their face. You know, it's like, hey, I just got all this stuff off you for nothing. You know, it's like, you know.
Yeah, well, maybe save some of that banter for when you're back at the house. But like, you know, yeah, exactly. The idea of someone showing up with their phone and recording and saying, I'm putting this on YouTube, it's not as foreign to a lot of people anymore. You know what I mean? A lot of people understand that a lot of people do this. So if you mention it, some of them are like, oh yeah, cool. You know, then maybe they'll say, what's up, you know?
Yeah, and that is true. Like,
you know, I'm Randy Smithton, and I love Team Gsale. You know, like, get as many of those shots as you can. Like,
yeah. And there are, like, I do run into younger people sometimes who, like, I'll even say to them, like, hey, you know, do you mind if I just like want to, like, do you mind if I take a photo of this or a video of this for a channel? And generally they're cool. Garage sales are hit or miss, though. A lot of people who have them are older people who probably aren't going to be too familiar with YouTube. Or at least why people would want to record at their
or the ambush style filming you'll be doing, right?
Yeah. It's like,
what's up, everybody? We're here at old Helda's house, and she's nervous. Like,
yeah, I never do that kind of stuff. I'm more like discreet when I do it, and I don't know. Like, for me, it's just I like looking for interesting stuff. Like I found so many things at garage sales that are worth nothing. Like I haven't put this video out yet, but just like yesterday, there was a garage sale. Corey would know, in the area we grew up in, Tyndall Park, and it was like they had like bags of old like movie cards like Goonies and Back to the Future and Ghostbusters, and I'm like, this stuff is worthless, but it's so cool. I had so much fun going through it and like looking at these cards, and it was like such a flashback to the 80s and 90s, and it's just like I love finding that kind of stuff. Like that kind of stuff's cool too.
Yeah, so, there's a world where people know this stuff is valuable, but then there's certain stuff from that era that seems like it fits right in. That's absolutely worthless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some people have like, some people have like it's just garbage, but they're trying to sell it for $7 a piece, and you're like, that was a Happy Meal toy, right? Like,
and like, generally I'm very nice at garage sales. Like if I have like a unwritten rule that because I like we also do, like I always do a garage sale at the end of the summer where like a lot of the stuff I couldn't sell other places, I'll just put out and try to get my money back for it. So I see people haggling with me, and I'm not opposed to haggling at a garage sale, but my belief is if the most I'm willing to pay is half of what is less
the
than
boys
half,
on Letterkenny would call it dickering.
Dickering, yes, they would, yeah. Not a dicker,
exactly.
Yeah. You're not you got to dicker just a wee bit.
Yeah, dicker out just a wee bit.
Saturdays are for garage sales.
Yeah.
Saturdays are for garage sales.
So yeah, if you're gonna end up having to pay, you were on a thought.
Yeah. So like for example, if the guy has a video game that I want, and he's asking $50, and the most that I would offer the guy is $25, I don't make an offer. Like I just, because at that point I don't want to insult the guy. And often I find too with some people, if you show interest and then kind of like turn away, sometimes they'll even just make an offer for you. I've had that happen a lot where I'll be like, well, how much is this game? And they're like 20, and I turn around and they go, well, give me 10.
Yeah.
Like I'm willing to do that. Like I'm willing to let that happen. But I've also had situations where
it's odd how there's this weird ego thing that happens in a garage sale where the person wants it out of their home so badly that they'll put it on the curb and take the best offer they get. But if you say something that's not near the number that they thought it was worth, that they get tight and the situation tenses up a little bit. And
yeah, and that's why I've said to people, like, they'll be like, well, make me an offer. And
I never used this set of glasses in my life. How dare you offer me $3 for them? Like,
it's been in a box in my basement for 25 years, but how dare you offer me $3 for that?
Yeah.
But yeah. And I mean, I tend to read people a little bit, but I just feel like I hate that phrase, make me an offer, because like I always, like, I don't know, and I'll usually say in that situation, I'll say to them, like, I don't want to insult you, but the best I could do is like $3. And then sometimes they'll go like, oh, okay, well, how about 8 or something? Like they'll try to come down. But in some cases they just go, no, that's not even close. We're not even close.
I feel like some people might not have considered being insulted until you mentioned that they could be insulted. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh.
Like, Maddie, I just go
clutching their pearls like, oh, how dare you, sir.
I usually just go in for the kill. I just tell them what it is. This is what I want to pay. And if you want to give me that, if not, then all right. I don't need it that bad. I'm on to the next. You know what I mean?
There's no rules per se, and you just sort of like, it's whatever you're comfortable with. Like, and I remember one time, and it's funny you mentioned Warren, because this did happen at Warren 2 years ago, where like I was at a garage sale and the guy had all of these boxed Star Wars figures, like the Keter ones from like the 70s and 80s.
Wow.
And I know that they're valuable. He knew they were valuable.
For sure.
I didn't really want them. I just figured if they're cheap, I'll buy them, right? And he didn't have any prices on them. So I said, like, hey man, like, what are you asking on these figures? And he goes, why don't you, well, throw me out an offer. And I said, honestly, man, I really don't want to throw you an offer. I'm like, do you have any idea kind of where you want to start? And he goes, well, I'm not going to be taking any less than $70 per figure. And at that point I turned around, because I said, okay, thank you. And I turned around and he goes back, he goes, hey, I checked eBay, and I turned back and I said, and I turned back around and I
what's that, sir?
Say, okay. Yeah. And I made a point that I think he needed to hear. It's like, why would I come to your garage sale if I can just hit buy it now on eBay?
Right? Exactly.
Like, why am I getting up early in the morning to pay a price that I could have just turned over my bed and hit buy it now? I got a money back guarantee. It's going to show up at my door. Exactly. Why am I here?
Yes.
Shit, you don't need to stand on the curb with a table out. You could just sell it on eBay too, bro.
Exactly.
We don't need to be doing this.
Like, what are you doing? Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't normally let my emotions go out there, but it's like he had to point out, he's like, I checked eBay. I'm not going to get ripped off here. And I'm like, buddy, if I wanted to pay eBay, I would have went to eBay. Like, I'm here at a garage sale expecting a little bit. I said, at the bare minimum, knock 15% off, because that's what you're going to pay in fees anyway on eBay.
Yeah.
Like, you know, at the bare minimum. So,
see, and these are people that just don't know, right? They have no clue how to even work eBay. They don't even they wouldn't even know how to post it on eBay for sale. Like, you know what I mean? Like, $75 because eBay said so. Okay.
I have an Apple phone too, dickhead. Like,
yeah, and it's like, did you check sold listings or just listings?
Right.
People make that mistake all the time. It's like,
For
I can
sure.
listings for whatever I want. Is it actually going to sell? That's a different story.
exactly.
You know what? To even, I would have been like, bro, I'm even amazed you even knew how to fucking put www.ebay in the fucking search thing there, man. Good on you, bud. Good on you. Like, I'm glad you checked eBay.
Yeah.
I check eBay. He gets on the motorized chair that brings him up the stairs back into his house.
Yeah, I probably did. I don't know. Like, one thing I learned about garage sailing that's like, it's like rule number one, and a lot of people do it. And like, I go garage sailing with like my wife's cousin. He's a video game collector too, and he never does this because he's always like kind of, I don't know, he's more like, I don't think he's comfortable like talking to people that he doesn't know a lot. But it's like, when I come up, I'll look around, and then if I don't see anything, I'm always trying to be very friendly. I'll be like, if I see the person, I'll be like, hey, how's it going? And I'll be like, hey, do you have any video games that you didn't put out here, like Atari, Nintendo, Sega? And I don't know how many times they've been like, yeah, I have a whole box inside, and then they'll go and grab it. Like, and they'll usually give you one or two lines. They'll say like, I didn't think anybody wanted it, or my kids might want it, but they probably don't use it anymore. And like, because a lot of times people just like, I know in my mind, I think everyone like wants to get rid of video games, but some people think they're worthless and they don't think anyone wants them. So, you know, I don't know how many times I think like, it doesn't matter what you're into. If you're garage selling, ask if they have it, because sometimes they just didn't think about it.
That's true.
Or often, like, if you go to a garage sale with kids, like especially older kids that are like at the garage sale, you know, sometimes they'll even say like, hey man, do you have any old video games you want to sell me? And a lot of the times they're like, yeah, they'll go inside and grab all their games. Like, it happens a lot.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
You know, it's a lot. Sorry, not to cut across you, Corey. Come back with your thought in a second. I just wanted to say, sometimes you have to, if you don't buy these things at these garage sales, sometimes you see them in the trash. Sometimes people, I see
thrift store.
I see it with vinyl all the time. I'll like be driving down the street and I'll see like a box of vinyl in the trash, and I'll be like, well, why you couldn't find someone to give you a dime a record? Like, don't let them die. Don't throw them in the fucking trash heap. And how many games have some people have been like, I'm not going to sell these. They're probably worth nothing. They just box them up, put them in the garbage, and you never see them again.
For sure.
You
Absolutely.
know, copies where there's not a ton left of probably ended up in the trash like that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny you say that. There's a YouTube channel that I kind of watched early days as well, called the Game Chasers. They're from Texas. They go out to videotape, you know, finding video games, and their whole slogan is rescuing video games from the dustbins of obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they they'll like, their whole thing is like, we just go and look for whatever people are getting rid of. But like I don't know, like I just find there's a lot of people who have games. They rather think they're worth way more than they are. A lot of people have this idea that like, if it's old, it must be worth money. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's that, and I'm sure there's vinyl like that too. But I know with like people that have Atari games, they go, well, these are old, they got to be worth something. It's like, Atari is one of the cheapest consoles to collect for, because everyone who grew up with the Atari is like 60 now. Mm-hmm. And they don't give a crap about Atari anymore.
Yeah, man.
So, like,
and good luck finding working ones. Good luck finding ones worth playing.
Well, that too, but it's like, it's one of the cheapest things. Like, one of my, and this is again another one of those like etiquette debatable points about garage sales or any dealings you have with somebody. And I'll have this happen sometimes, and I'll say like, the guy will have a bunch of games, and I'll say, hey, I'm interested in these games, and he'll go, what do you think it's worth? And I always hate that, because I always have like if it's a friend of mine or someone who I know, I'm gonna be honest with them. I have to be
infinite, but like,
don't know,
you know, like, what is it worth? What's Super Mario 3 worth to you, bro? Is it worth, you know? If you had no way to play it ever again, would you pay $100 for a copy?
Well,
you know,
yeah,
like,
I mean, like, I gave this guy a GameCube, and he's like, oh, I'll get you the money for it. I'll sell it. I was like, no, bro, just whatever. It's yours. I don't want it. I want it out of my house. Just keep it. It's yours. Like, 5 months later, I run into him, and he's like, oh, yeah, man, here's your $60 for your GameCube. And I'm like, I told you, it's yours. It's all good, man. Like, because I was like, what do you think this thing's? I don't know, 50, $60. I was like, okay, well, whatever, keep it. He's like, oh, 6 months later, here's your $60, bro. I'm like, all right, man, cool, whatever. Thanks for being honest.
He didn't want you to own
hey.
shares in the Gsale empire. He knew even back then it was going to be popping. Like,
as luck would have it, our interview with Gsale ran a little long enough, in fact, that we managed to make this into a two-parter. Our first two-parter. Chan, how do you feel?
Yo, this has been exciting, man. Part one's been awesome. Yeah. Like, this is great. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, so this is the end of part one. It's coming out when it comes out, and keep your eyes open for part two. It's coming right behind it. I hope you guys enjoyed the first part because the second part's just as good. And we appreciate you guys watching. So for our Team Gsale, for Corey Chen out in Winnipeg, I'm Don the Jeweler. Yes. Stay safe, take care of each other, and say goodnight to the bad guys.